call with a coach, and I wanted to share with you my experience and then relate that to you, what that means to you, either as a consultant or a business coach. I get this call, and I usually don't pick up. This time I picked up for whatever reason, and sure enough, was one of the salespeople, or even the coach himself. I don't actually know, and they said, "Hey, we are specialized in helping you to become, to hit the first 100K." And I'm like, dude, in my head, dude, have you looked at my profile? But I didn't ask that questions. I figured, let me see what he has to say. And I was really interested in the sales spiel. And what I've learned is there was nothing. So I asked him specifically, what's your roadmap? How are you going to get me there? And the answer was, oh, well, we're going to meet. We will see where you are, what your limited beliefs are, and then we make a plan, and then we move you forward. That doesn't cut it anymore, right? But that's a coach. Consultants do the same, right? So when you talk to a typical the independent consultant, and I ask them, how do you help your clients? What do you do? The answer is typically, oh, I go on the client side, and then we have a look and we see what's broken, and then we devise a plan, and then we'll fix it. And I or we can help with so many different issues. And the challenge with that is, it's true for coaching and for consulting, that with the climate right now, clients are more educated. Clients at one point will tell you, well, I can do that myself. That's not why I need you, right? They want results fast. Yes, they hire you because at one point in their lives or in their careers, they have come to the realization that when they ask themselves how they can solve the problem themselves, that it will take a long time, they make a lot of mistakes, it will be bumpy, and they get distracted, and they're not making progress as fast. Successful people that have experience, they know, they ask different questions. They don't ask, how can I solve the problem, but who can solve the problem for me? And that's number one. But then they also have specific questions. How fast can you get me results? I know when I started out as a consultant, we had IT projects that lasted 3-4 years. I don't think that anybody has that kind of patience anymore, right? So they want results fast and faster than they ever wanted. Number two, they want to know how you are going to solve it, not how they can solve it, how you can help them solve it. They want you to be accountable. And coaches and consultants don't like that. Yes, consultants, they want to focus on the technical aspects of the job and then leave the management and implementation, especially the people management and all the drama that comes with it, to the client. And if it doesn't work out for the client, very convenient for the consultant, here's the opportunity to sell the next package, sell more hours, and sell more seats even, and stay engaged longer. Coaches are the same, right? So I used to, let's take Tony Robbins results coaches. I love Tony Robbins as far as I'm concerned. He is the coaching royalty, and I've learned so much from him. So grateful, enjoy them, really respect the man. But some of his results coaches or the entire process is based on you finding your own breakthroughs. So they will not give you any results. Why? They don't want to be accountable, right? So they don't want to be in a position where they gave you a piece of concrete advice and then it doesn't work and then it's their fault. What they want is that you find your own breakthrough. And if it doesn't work, it's your fault. If it does work, they did a good job, right? So, and clients are better organized and they're more educated right now than that. So, what I'm going to submit here to you is you've got to be more specific. So you've got to have a roadmap. You need to be able to go to the client and say, we are here or you are here, and here is my process. Here are my unique mechanisms. Here are my tools to get you to where you want to be. All right. When it comes to consulting, it also has to include the behavioral aspects of the job. So in any consulting project, I don't know about you, but in over 30 years of implementing technology, in global organizations such as the World Bank. Nature Conservancy was there, and others, but large organizations, Waters, Quayside. It has never, ever, 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 ever been the technology that failed. But technology is never perfect. We all know that. Technology has quirks. You're always going to be surprised what you're going to find out once you implement. You now know how to interpret some of the sales conversations that you had, right? So, but by and large, most packages that you buy can get the job done, but it requires you, your team, or the organization to do things differently. And it's always the people who either make it work or don't make it work. So when implementation projects have failed, it was either because people didn't like it, right? Good example would be process automation, right? So for the manager and for the consultant, that's awesome. You can save money, you can save time, but for the employees or the staff or the team, it means, wait a minute, that also means these tasks are automated. They won't need us anymore. They will downsize. And even if the manager says that's not true with the best of intentions, we all know that it usually happens sooner or later because someone up there will cut headcount, especially in times like these. And when you cut your headcount, that money that's saved goes directly into the profit line, right? So so staff members, team members have a totally different incentive, right? And so that's what you got to deal with. You have gatekeepers. You have people who feel that whatever solution you have sucks, right? So, and they will tell you that, and they will sabotage that, and they have more influence on the team than the boss, even, right? So there's usually somebody, I call them corporate cockroaches. They have been there forever, and everybody listens to them, even though they do not have formal authority, but they have the lead without authority. And you're going to be up against that. So what are you going to do now? It's not a technical problem. It's a behavioral issue. And here is when you build a roadmap, is the first decision that you need to make, right? Number one is, am I dealing with a technical issue or a behavioral challenge? A technical issue is something that has a process and can be easily solved. A behavioral issue requires a person to change beliefs, values, the way they work, habits, and so on. And these are always, always, always the challenges and roadblocks in any kind of consultant program that requires to work with the team. Yes. Give an example with doctors, for example. In 60% of all cases, a patient goes to a doctor and the doctor diagnoses and treats, right? The doctor, you have the bellyache, you get medication, and a week later you're better. Or you break your forearm or your wrist and get in a cast for 6 months or 6 weeks, do a little bit of physical therapy, and you're better. You can go back to normal after a while. But there are cases, and 40% of the patients that come in, where you cannot separate the person from the illness. For example, you have a type A executive who has a heart attack. And yes, the doctor can get that person back on his or her feet with an angioplasty, bypass, or whatever. But when that person doesn't change behavior, they will come back. They will have the next heart attack or even stroke, right? So, because it matters how much they drink and don't, how much they exercise and don't, how much they pray or meditate or don't, how much they sleep or don't, right? So your first job is to separate or differentiate between a technical issue and a behavioral challenge. Second, now you need to put this into a roadmap and build a plan for your clients. That here's my process. Here's the way we help you solve your technical issues, and here's the way how we help you solve your behavioral challenges. And I want to show you some examples of a roadmap. So here, for example, that is a typical roadmap like you would see from any like middle of the road consultant. It's a good roadmap, yes, but where where you start doing a discovery, then you may have a workflow review or more in-depth diagnosis. Once you know where to look first, which you learn in discovery, then you have for example, strategy development. You support the organization in selecting the right solutions, and you help them implement. Okay, and for each of these steps, there's a statement of work where it's very clear what the deliverables are, what the benefits are, what you do, how long it takes, and so on the cost. Right, very straightforward. That alone does not cover resistance from staff. That does not cover the human issues, and it's always the human issues, always the behavioral issues that derail an implementation. Okay, so therefore, what I would like to share with you is a different approach. It's probably a complementary approach, but that's a roadmap that you want, right? So let me bring this up here real quick. Here is, for example, the roadmap that I give to my clients. Okay, so I help consultants to grow to $1 million in revenue and then $1 million in profits. And that's a significant number. That doesn't happen overnight. And there's a roadmap. This looks very complicated, but let me walk you through this so that you understand how easy that really is for them to digest. Because for one, they know exactly at any given time what they need to work on based on where they grow, right? So after they've achieved 300,000, or when they're on their way to 300,000, they focus on the middle, right? And if they're on the way to $1 million, they're focused here. And if they're like around 100,000 or a little bit below, they're focused on this line of the roadmap. So let's say you are at $100,000, you want to make it to $300,000. So what we do is we have here the business growth issues. Okay, business growth, these are the technical aspects that you can implement, right? So we can design your program, for example. I can show you how to qualify your audience and, how to book triage calls, screening calls, strategy calls. I can show you how to sell without friction and how to reframe objections and so on. Very straightforward. The way that map works is from the outside in, and then it stacks. And it stacks because I know when we're done with the roadmap, and let me see this here, and you can book enough sales calls, you have the ability to sell without friction, and you have the ability to overcome objections and reframe them, you're going to sell. You're going to make it to 100K, right? But on the right side, we also have the behavioral issue. Those are the personal growth. Come here, where are you here? The personal growth part. So that's making you and your business better. And the same thing applies, right? So same as we work from the outside in. And at the end, we stack here. And if you want to grow to $100,000, yes, you need to be able to sell, but you also need to be able to influence other people to take the right action, for example, buying, right? You need to be able to connect wholeheartedly and not in a sleazy way, or come across as sleazy or insecure. And you need to be able to challenge your clients to take action. And if you have those two together, grouped, you're going to get to 100K. And then we do the same. We have the same for 300K and the same for 1 million. And then there's another roadmap to get from 1 million in revenue to 1 million in profit. Okay, so there are two aspects here: the technical aspects, are we going to grow your business, and the developmental aspect, like the personal development aspect rather. How are we making you? How can you become a better person, or how can your business become a better business? All right. So what I'm challenging you to do right now is think that through. Do the same thing. What are you offering? What's your roadmap? And don't give me the spiel that every client is different. No, they're not. If you have been in your job, your role as a consultant for long enough, you see patterns and you know exactly where people tend to struggle and what they need to do before they can make progress, right? So in my case, my clients, for example, they can go into the roadmap at any given time and say, and check things off. Okay. And they know exactly what is not done yet. And hopefully they have done this on the behavioral personal development side as well. Okay. That's the kind of clarity that people want. They want to know that they get results fast. And for example, in my case, when you help people to get to $1 million in revenue, that doesn't happen overnight. They know that. When you go on site or you work with a client on a larger implementation project, let's say the implementation of a multilingual content management system, they know that can be done, that cannot be done in a month or two or a quarter. But what people want is they want to see progress, milestones, and tangible results as fast as they can. They want to see how that works. That's why we have a roadmap. And they want to be, we want you to hold yourself accountable as much as you will want to be hold them accountable. Because the roadmap enables you to go back to the client and say, you know what? Have you learned how to sell without friction? Well, that's why you're not closing, right? For example, do you have a lead magnet? Well, that's why you're not getting any engagement, right? So, or conversions. That's the beauty of it. You can hold each other accountable. You cover all three needs. Would like to help you with that. So next week I will run a 3-day challenge where on day 3 we build a roadmap together. We show you exactly the steps that you can take that you know to get you that roadmap. And at the end of that session, you will have a first version. Might be a crappy version, but a version that you can work with and you can then develop further. So that's next week. If you're interested in it, then let me know here in the comments and type in the words roadmap, and then I know. Or later on in the comments, I will put the link where you can join me on Zoom next week. That's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at noon Central, which is 1 p.m. Eastern and 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Yeah, 10 a.m. Pacific. All right. So that is the momentum challenge, the $1 million momentum challenge, where we look at sales and you know what the sales strategy that gets you to $1 million. We look at yourself. A lot of people have imposter syndrome and they feel they're not good enough or they don't deserve it or they cannot do it. We're going to take care of that. And then we build a roadmap that your clients actually want and will demand. And what that does then also to you, and this is so cool, it will help you retain your clients longer, right? Because clients leave you because they run out of future with you. If they don't know anymore what's next, then and how else you can serve them, they're going to be gone. The roadmap will make that totally clear what the next step is. Every client knows the next step, what's ahead of them. And for that reason, when I worked as a consultant a few years ago, I asked my clients, why do you keep me on board so long, right? And at the time in my industry, I was part of a niche industry called localization. The average consultant had an engagement of like, I think 4.5 weeks. And my average engagement was 5.7 years. So I asked my clients, why do you keep me on board so long? And I was surprised and stunned by the answer. The first thing that they said, it's not because of your knowledge. I'm like, what? So here I thought I was the thought leader, and in one case, for example, I sat with a client and Adobe in a room, and we actually through our work changed Adobe's development roadmap, right, because of that client's need. And so it was very interesting. So I thought the client know that I know my stuff, but no, that was not why they stayed. All of them said, but one in particular, but all of had a similar version, said, we keep you on board because you made me a better manager, my team a better team, and my vendor a better vendor. All right. And that's what a roadmap does also. You work on the technical issues and the behavioral challenges, and you have a roadmap for both. You're going to be in good shape, retain your clients longer, and also avoid the feast and famine cycle that so many consultants and coaches experience. All right. So hopefully I see you next week. No, I will see you next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at noon Central for the Momentum $1 million or $1 million Momentum Challenge. All right. See you then. Bye.